What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show 2020 Best Podcast News Award and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world that is for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Care and Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, a multimedia not-for-profit that is showcasing Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. Welcome to the Morning Vibe, June 14th, and really happy to see there are people already watching. Like they're expecting us to be on. So we appreciate your support. Ryan, what's going on?
Yes. Good to see you, sir. Always a pleasure to be on the Morning Vibe. My name is founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. Also a founder of a social enterprise called Detailing Nights, where we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. We come to your house, use plant-based, eco-friendly cleaning supplies to make sure your car looks great. And we work with youth in the community to teach them entrepreneurship. So again, if you have a high school student or a child, teenager, young adult in university, high school, or even out of school, and they're looking for a job, please send them my way. We are hiring. I think we have 4 spots available starting. They'll be starting in July. So please touch base. Thank you. And looking forward to putting your kids to work.
Good. Well, doesn't look like there's going to be too much morning car wash today because it looks like we're going to be getting rain most of the day in Toronto.
Yes. Well, as all dads will give you their corny line, we needed the rain. The plants need the rain. So I'll accept that. But yeah, we're going to be hard at work when the rain stops. So
there you go. Morning, Mr. Lawrence. Hope all is fine with you. Morning to everyone else. We got people watching us on Facebook and on YouTube. YouTube. Those things. Yeah, yes. Those platforms. What's been going on? What were you up to this weekend?
This weekend was a mix. Saturday, the milkman was back. So we got mega shipment, like 2 fridges full again. So we were out. Well, I was out delivering and there was deliveries being made. So I find it so therapeutic because I used to actually be a courier driver. Shout out to Current Express. And Dale used to work with him there, Dale and Mike. And I'm curious how that industry is doing because everybody's been home. Do you really have to be delivering packages to offices? But it just threw me back. I actually should have found my hat. So I have my Current Express hat. And just seeing people in person, people happy to see you. They're looking for a bit of help with some food products and we have extra. And I'm starting to think of, I forget which book I saw it in, but it mentioned that there should be no one that doesn't have enough when there are people that have too much. And that is really showing me that, it's like if we have extra, should be making sure that everybody is taken care of. And that might be something that this capitalistic type mindset isn't really an Afrocentric mindset. And we're not taking people and taking care of them.
It's interesting. We maybe need to do a morning vibe conversation. Is capitalism working?
And that's a deep question because the people that it's working for will fight to the death for it. And the people that it's not working for are being conditioned to somehow think that capitalism is working. So a person that's in subsidized housing and struggling to make ends meet somehow still has a view of how the economy works to think that they fit in that box, like they fit where they are. And that shouldn't be the case. Like we shouldn't be conditioned to think that if a system isn't working for us, we should just be happy with what we got because we have food and we have a shelter. Like, no, everybody should be on a path to thrive. And right now there is a good percentage of the population that isn't thriving. So it'd be hard to argue that capitalism is working, yet because it's working for some, you can always make the case like, oh, well, yeah, don't you see all these success stories? And I'm talking about in the Black community, there's success stories here and there's success stories there. But Farley Flex, he said it to me, where if we are seeing ourselves as being successful, or he was talking about his children, if my children are successful, but yet there was a shooting and a killing in the street, in the community, is that really success? Like, can I still say that we are doing good if there's still people not doing good? And I think it goes back to that quote. It's like, I can't say yes.
Well, definitely we're gonna have this as an upcoming topic because I'd like to get, especially people probably want to ask myself and Ryan because we are business people and
Right?
capitalism and business seem to go hand in hand. But the thing is a system working when the minority rules over the majority?
Well, and like, it takes me back to who is it working for? Because that minority has now created an ecosystem that is very tailored to what they need. Certain people, and I always think of government, like government is in place to manage the current system. So whoever's in their segments, it's how do you make sure nobody gets out of line? Like there isn't too many killings that people will revolt. There isn't too many poor people that people will revolt. There is, it's just, okay, it's just like, was it the thermometer? Just keeping the thermometer balanced where.
A balance, yes.
Yeah.
Maintain.
When you dig deeper into that, it gets kind of insidious because you're like, okay, the government knows that there's crime. They know that there's people, let's say, dealing drugs. They know that there's people living on the street, but it's at a level that we're comfortable with. And who sets that level? Like, and even for myself, you'll think, yeah, as long as my kids aren't on the street or my family isn't, like my extended family isn't on the street, then I don't really have to worry about homelessness for me. Like, I'm good in my current status. So that's what really, the government is there for, to make sure that everybody has some sort of complacency with where we are. Mm-hmm. And that, again, isn't everybody thriving. The government is not there to make sure that 100% thriving rate. I'll just use that to say, like, hey, there should be nobody that is not successful. And we need to define success and make sure people hit that. That is not their job. And we keep thinking and trying to get them to do it, but it's not their job.
Well, and Christopher commented here, status quo. Status quo.
That's it. And what will get me elected?
Before we came on live here today, Ryan, we were having a nice little conversation about, again, Ryan has become a premier journalist, people. As I said, I mentioned in previous conversations, he did this post in LinkedIn a few weeks ago, and it's still getting legs. And Ryan, I don't know if you want to share the next chapter of your post. It seems that it's continuing to go.
I was honored when West Hall liked my post. I was like, oh, yes, because I had tagged it.
Like something about, what was the post about?
So it was called The Cash Propaganda. And I think I coined it while we were talking on one of our past episodes, where the government now is putting together programs, but the only people or entity that is benefiting from the program is the actual government. They announced back in September here in Canada that the federal government is going to support the Black community with $221 million. And that was specific for the Black business. It was called the Black Entrepreneurship Program. So that was September. Fast forward to May, when May 31st, they announced, okay, now they're going to be accepting applications for the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. So my question with the article was, who benefited in those 9 months? So no Black entrepreneurs got any money, no deposits into their bank accounts for the Black Entrepreneurship Program, but the federal government got to do 3 announcements. 3 like press conference style announcements, and Justin Trudeau was at 2 of them. So the first one and the May 31st. So he's getting press. He's getting to give announcements. Minister Ng, Minister Hussein, Greg Fergus, they're all there for the announcements. So they're getting the publicity, yet entrepreneurs are not getting the support. So that's where I call it the cash propaganda, because now I'm looking at a lot of other announcements, and typically they're in like nonprofit realm and social and justice. So I wasn't in those spaces, so not really paying attention. But now that they're talking about business, I'm really paying attention to, okay, I could use support. COVID knocked my business on its butt, and there was no support. And Minister Mary Ng said it out of her own mouth that the announcement on May 31st was not a COVID related relief fund. The Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund was not COVID related. So since COVID started, and now we're talking about a year. So a year since, the initial lockdown, there have been no COVID relief funding for Black entrepreneurs. Period. That is, you can't change that statistic. And now we've moved on. The government has moved on from trying to support Black entrepreneurs because of COVID. So really, a whole year passed and we got no directed support. And again, when you post these things onto CTV News and other media channels, you'll see in the comments, people are always like, oh, why does there need to be something specific for Black people? All Lives Matter jumps in there sometimes. My business is also struggling. And this is from like white entrepreneurs. So now my ending question was, there was a media scrum after that last announcement, May 31st. I didn't see any other Black media outlets on the call. So I was there as ACBN Media, and I didn't get to ask a question. So you have a Black focused event. No Black media gets to ask a question about the event. And again, a tragedy had happened on the weekend with them finding the 215 children hidden. I would say not even buried. They were hidden at those Kamloops residential schools. And now all the questions were about that.
Yeah.
And again, hey, respect where you are. Like they're thinking that they're showing respect to the children that were found, at the same time disrespecting the Black community at our own event, because it wouldn't happen in reverse. So I was throwing it out there to say, hey, all Black people in media, we need to create our own entities. So, I mean, people went, I've never had a post. I think it's almost about to hit 1,000 views. I've never had a LinkedIn post go above 50, I think. So it struck a nerve that people were like, okay, you know what? This has been happening, but nobody's been saying anything. And that was really the question that I had. The government always can announce things without actually having to deliver. And I call out RBC all the time. They announced back in June 6th that they're going to be supporting the Black community with $100 million. And they didn't have to really deliver anything since June till I think the announcement with Futurepreneur really was the official one that they said, okay, we are going to be lending money through Futurepreneur. And I have an article coming out about that. I'll send you the draft before I said I push publish.
So you have a new company, you see?
Who's that? Hey, I'll get me that domain. I will.
And then good morning, Simone Cordis. We have to separate ourselves from them, please. Ooh, okay.
So that's why I threw out about the media, because now we're trusting mainstream media to cover our stories. Anybody that you ask knows that the mainstream media does not cover our stories with the right perspective. So we should be covering our own stories, our own content, controlling that. And that's why it's so important, because now being able to work with you, I see that it's possible. We have the talent in the community to control our own media. And then if those other media outlets want to get content from us, they have to go through, and then the name that came to mind is the Black Syndicate.
I like what Simone is saying. Interesting. They do not have to deliver because we Black people do not demand collectively.
And even if we do, we don't hold them accountable, because they'll push back on you and say, oh, the FACE Coalition is comprised of 5 organizations that created one like collective ask. So they'll push back against you and say, oh, well, we're talking with 5 Black organizations and they've come together to create one entity. But they're really playing the role that the government wants them to play. Because if those 5 entities came together and they proposed to the government a solution, and so what we as the public are seeing is the results of those conversations. So we're seeing no money coming out since September to May. If that is that what they proposed? Because if they did, they're clearly not speaking in the best interest of the Black business community. And if they didn't, if they did propose something better than that, the government ignored it. So if the government is ignoring what you're saying, then you actually don't have any teeth. You're at a table and not getting what you're proposing. So only those are the only two paths. It's either you asked and didn't get, or you didn't ask and you don't understand how to negotiate with the government. That aside, so back to the second round of this. I won't call it a firestorm. I call it my personal awakening, because typically I don't write articles. So typically I don't. I mean, I'll talk about just what we're working on, but this was the first time we really dug into what is the kabuki theater that is going on around the Black support. It's almost like a new industry, the Black support industry, and who's benefiting from it. So Wes Hall, he liked the post. I was like, you always check to see who's liking it. And yes, or 2 days ago, he actually reshared it and said, you know what? This is what they call the head fake. And he was like, Ryan, this is what they call the head fake in basketball. They show you they show you one move and then go another way to draw a foul. That whole post that, hey, I agree. But now you're in a roundabout way.
What was Wes Hall saying? What was his response? Like, was he just was Westminster saying great article and that was that? Because we have a comment here from Christopher. Can we create our fund for Black entrepreneurs? Now, individuals like a Wes Hall, don't they have enough money to do that?
Well, and Christopher Lawrence, that the question goes deeper than that, because they told us they did. Black North Initiative said that they are creating an entity to help support Black entrepreneurs and the Black community. Black Opportunity Fund, literally, it's in their name. They said that they have created a fund to support Black entrepreneurs.
See, Simone is saying, need to connect with you, Ryan, on the fund story. See, Ryan Knight, oh man, he is the man.
If that's the puzzle piece that I can play in this game that they're playing, is just to observe and report. It's like, I'm just seeing the data and reporting.
Ryan, do you see why I take the position why I do? Do you understand it now?
Definitely. But and the only thing I would push back on that position is because you actually have a platform to expose a lot of this. And I feel like I'm using our platform with this to expose what's going on, because like we were talking about just earlier, everybody's complacent to a degree and in their comfort zone. And the government is keeping us in this comfort zone. And the comfort zone varies. There are people that are very active in doing like the work that needs to be done in the community, but even still, they're in a certain comfort zone because there's certain atrocities that you can't battle everything. You can't fight everything. So it's not to say like, oh, everybody should be doing more. It's just what we are doing, we need to really analyze it. And it's not to create another report and say, oh, let me do more research on the Black community. It's really to say, who's in charge of coming up with the solutions? They are getting paid. There are people at the government right now that are making, I would say at minimum $60,000 a year, possibly over $100,000 a year, where their full-time job, is to figure out a solution to certain problems in the community. And hey, we can find their actual names and say, okay, this person is in charge. And let's say, like with housing and different, there's people in charge of this thing that full-time, they can't figure out how to get it right. So now you have to ask yourself, are they actually trying to get it right? Because if I had full bandwidth, paid full-time to focus on, okay, how do we support Black entrepreneurs? At minimum, you would ask Black entrepreneurs what do they need and then deliver that. And then,
but is there not at least one organization that is somewhat doing that now? And I don't want to give names, but there's a recent organization that is supposedly doing that.
You'd have to enlighten me. because
Okay. Let me put this straight. Okay, in your opinion, are
Mm.
any organizations doing that right now?
So listening to what and we're talking about black entrepreneurs or just
Yeah,
the
but
community.
and I don't want listen. I'm talking doing.
Yeah, yes. I mean, this I can only go by name. So BBPA has started to put out a lot of programs.
Right.
I feel like they really shifted course based on their prior stereotype to like the new path that they're on. And hey, shout out to Nadine and her team and Ross and Roderick. It's I've seen them put in place things that I can feel comfortable sending entrepreneurs to. Because with our organization, we do not execute like services. We more try to find what supports the entrepreneur needs and then plug them in. So
Right.
with the BBPA BAIDS program, it's become a great first step for entrepreneurs to go there, get a grant to help them get services done. And those services would be like your bookkeeping or your accounting or your marketing strategy, all those foundational things. I can now send an entrepreneur to the BBPA and know that they're going to be taken care of to a certain point, and then they can come back for the coaching.
Okay. Let's stop right
Mm.
there because there are Christopher and Simone got a lot of comments. We're gonna break it right
And I
now.
didn't answer your question about what Wes actually said, so I'll answer that
Yes, you
question.
haven't yet, but this is
Yes.
when you're a media mogul and you dominate the airwaves. So we will be back in just a moment. And thanks for everyone who's watching live, loving the interaction. You are on the Morning Vibe with Dr. Vibe and Ryan Oneil Knight. Back in a minute. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, and it is Black Canada Talking time. Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes on stories, POVs that are of importance to them, or we showcase Black Canadians are doing their thing.
The real aspect of what goes on behind the walls or behind the fence is a totally different persona and a totally different picture.
There was just a big sense of relief when we finally got there.
We have to realize that everything we do is going to have an impact on probably a lot of people we don't even know.
One of the mandates of the CBC is to reflect Canada back to itself.
Not a lot of sustainable long-term movement that will affect economic change.
God bless, peace well, keep the faith, and walk good. We are back on the Morning Vibe, and we just saw a little podcast of Black Canada Talking. That is a live conversation I host most Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I've been doing it since last August, and we just threw it out there, and it's great. Got traction. Actually, with a great conversation yesterday, celebrating World Sickle Cell Day, which is coming up on January 19th. So maybe get into a little bit of that before we sign off. But Ryan Knight is dominating the airwaves on the Morning Vibe. So a few things. So you wanted to answer that question with Wes Hall first.
Right. So what I feel like he said was he acknowledged that the government is giving us the head fake. What it opened up conversation to is who else is also giving the Black community the head fake.
Okay. I just want to stop there. So he acknowledged that the government is giving the head fake, but he's working with the government, isn't he not?
That was my impression. So that's where it opened up the conversation to say, okay, so what are you working on? And then I saw through his other post that the year anniversary of the Black North Initiative is upon us. I think it's in July, and they're going to be doing a summit. So in that promo video, it shows that there's 10 core programs that they have created that I would love to know what those are, because hey, I would love to volunteer and support whatever you guys are doing. But the questions that are coming in the comments now is like, who's in charge in the Black community to make sure that we defend against this head fake? Because when you see a person doing a move on the court, you analyze the tape and you're like, okay, what are they doing and how do we defend and counterattack? So that's what was missing, I think, in the Black community, is that we can see the government disrespecting us, but there was no analysis of the disrespect and a counterattack or a defense created. And that's what I thought Black North was supposed to do. That's what I thought Black Opportunity Fund was supposed to do. That's what I'm hoping the Federation for Black Canadians and Federation for, oh my gosh, there's a lot of organizations that are supposed to be working on this thing. Be transparent. Where are you at? Black Opportunity Fund has been a year. Where are you at? We've seen different announcements. So the banks, again, are getting promotion. National Bank got to announce they gave $6 million to the Black Opportunity Fund. Unfortunately, it hasn't rolled out yet. So, and I think that was like 2 months ago. So what is your status? And how are you helping us defend against the government that, because exactly like Simone said, these organizations can detach us from the dependency of the government that we have with the government. Every time you talk to a government official, they will point to, oh, do you see these breadcrumbs that we provided for the Black community over here? Do you see these little supports that we provided over there? We need to stop going to them and asking for them to build our own solutions. We need to build our solutions ourselves, and then wherever that solution fits into a government agenda, they can support. But it's not us waiting for them to build the solution for us, because then we get what we got with, and I won't say phase, more the Black Entrepreneurship Program. They proposed this program and we just had to accept it. And that to me is backwards. No business operates like that. No business, unless unless what they propose is so spectacular that you're like, listen, this is a win-win for everybody. Let's sign the papers. Let's go ahead. But it wasn't. That needed to be analyzed by the Black community, whoever that might be, and a counter proposal submitted. Like, listen, thank you. Okay, 221 million. I think we had asked for more. And if you look at the different requests, there was $1 billion ask. I think there was a $1.5 billion ask. It landed on a $2 billion ask, which was more like a full community ask. So the 221, and that was actually after the 221. So 221 was in September. And then the budget, just before the budget earlier this year, the Black community penned a letter that I think over 150 organizations signed, asking for $2 billion, and the government came back with $200 million endowment fund. So they proposed $200 million, and everybody's excited. Everybody's like, yes, okay, boom, this is gonna change everything. This is historic. They keep using the word historic. When do we get to sit down as a community and analyze what's been delivered to us and decide if it is good or bad and counter? That's what Simone, I think, is hinting at. When we are collectively moving forward, we get to determine it.
Christopher has a question. Can we create multiple funds for Black entrepreneurs? I think more and more when I look at this, because the more I know, the less I understand when it comes to this stuff. You mentioned that there's all these different organizations doing different things. Why? Why can't they just come together and work together? A unified force usually brings better results, because there's all these different organizations. This is doing this. This is doing that. At the end of the day, it's all to help the same person. And now I know it's different than buying a car, because when you buy a car, you can buy different types of cars, but you still got to buy a car. But the thing is, I just think if I'm a government person and I'm going, like, which organization should I put my time in? There's all these different organizations. And I would look, okay, how come there can't be a group of them all working together? And I have a feeling that in all of this, there's some egos in the way. Maybe I'm on the outside, you would know more than me. And here we have changing the mindset of those who are complacent. There are some people, their mindset ain't going to change. Sorry to say that. There are some people that this, I think I would say for some people, this is a business.
Well, and they found their place in the world to be the bridge between the government and the people, and to play, I call them gatekeepers. And I've seen it with Metrolinks and Crosslinks, the work that we were doing with Rosemary and the Toronto Community Benefits Network. They elevate somebody in their organization to be the community advocate, and that community advocate is the only person that the organizations are able to talk to. and then they bring back the information to the big company. And it was Crosslinks at the time. And so you never get to talk to the actual decision makers. You always talk to the gatekeeper. Same thing with the federal government, the Black Opportunity Fund. Sorry, not the Black Entrepreneurship Program. You never get to talk to the person making the decisions. You always talk to the gatekeepers. And so you don't even know if what you're proposing gets to the person that can make decisions. And I have the email in black and white. I'm talking to a person that's in Minister Ng's office, and I'm asking them questions about, okay, this is before any announcements. I think before even the 221. Say, this is what we found. You asked us to do research. We did the research, and this is what we're proposing or presenting to you based on, it's not Ryan Knight talking. It's Ryan Knight. I'm just presenting the facts that we got. So the survey showed there needed to be short-term and long-term support. People needed help with coaching and access to funding. That, to me, in my mind, is very simple. So anything that you launch, short-term funds have to go out the door and long-term plan, because the barrier was the banks. People were going to the banks and feeling like they're not getting treated the same. And people had a lot of different stories to tell about their experiences. So dealing with the banks is a problem. But I can admit that's a long-term fix. You can't change, because the bank has a lot of regulations that they don't want to deal with risk. And they perceive, and this is me talking, they perceive the Black community as risk. And we have to prove them wrong. So it's sometimes difficult to prove them wrong. So all that to say, the banks are the issue. And who did they partner with the program? And you can they play the recording every time. Justin Trudeau says, we have created a Black entrepreneurship program in partnership with the banks. So what are we doing? So, and then guess what? Guess what happens? The bottleneck is the banks. The announcement on May 31st didn't include the banks because the banks still haven't signed their agreement because they can't figure out how to support the Black community. But this leads me to my next point, is that we should not be focused on creating specific funding only for the Black community. We need to focus on giving the Black community access to all the funds. And I'll use the procurement as an example. So Minister Anand, I'm on this roundtable and they're talking about a Black pilot procurement, a Black procurement pilot. So they selected 12 procurement bids that is going to be designated for the Black community. And at that same time, there's 650 active bids on their own website. So where should we focus our time? Should we focus on 12 to say, okay, we're going to dumb down the bidding process for these 12 so that Black people can get into it? Or do we improve the supports around Black entrepreneurs so that they can go after any of the 600? And that's where we have to create our own strength. So what Chris is actually asking, and sorry, Christopher, if you don't want to be called Chris. So Christopher, those funds that we should be creating for the Black community should be generated ourselves, because the government would now create a small program for funds. And what did we get? The Black Entrepreneurship Program, a small amount of money that is now designated for the Black community. And anytime a Black business owner asks the government for support, they point you there. They're like, oh, did you see the Black Entrepreneurship Program? Go check that out because we just allocated $200 million. When, if you look at NACO, and Marlon was talking about the National Angel Investors Association, there's how much? I think 7,000 angel investors. There's how many thousand VCs, how many billions and trillions of dollars that get invested every year? How do we get business owners plugged into that? We just need to get them prepared and plug them into the flow of money. Mm-hmm. We don't need to carve out a small piece and say, oh, pat on the head, aren't you happy now? We gave you some crumbs. It's like, no, get me prepared to go after. Get me prepared to be able to go into the bank and access the billions of dollars that they're already supposed to be lending that RBC, and now they have let's say it's $100 million that RBC has carved out. How much money does RBC manage in a year? What was their profits was like $3 billion a quarter, and they took $100 million and said, "Here you go, that'll solve the black problem." That to me is disrespect. And on top of that, you haven't even given the money. You only said that you will give the money. So you didn't have to spend a dime. You got to do a press conference. David McKay, CEO of RBC, gets a pat on the back. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for stepping up and helping the black community. And the black entrepreneur gets nothing. If the black entrepreneur was coached to say, you know what, this is how you approach going into the bank. You have to have this prepared, this prepared. Because if you're prepared, you can go get a loan from the bank.
Oh, it's not preparation is the key.
So
preparation is the key.
And somebody showed me how to get prepared. It wasn't I walked into the bank and just thought, hey, I'm entitled to get money. And the first time I did that, I got declined quite swiftly. And the second time when I walked in, and I had some support, I had my father, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do this right. My dad coached me on how to talk to the bank and present what I'm doing. And it was more successful that route.
So Ryan, here's a few things come out. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Things that, first of all, it's ours, and I say everyone's responsibility who looks like us. We should be mentoring each other to set ourselves up for success. Second of all, I always find this a very interesting situation because many, many years ago, I said I would never want to get involved getting government money, this and that. And then someone told me, well, you know what? It's your taxes. You deserve a piece of the pie. But the thing is, why is it so hard for me to get a piece when it's my money? But on the other end, it's easier for me to get support from people who don't even know me. Like, I'll be quite honest, folks. I could probably get financial investment quicker from someone who lives outside of this country than in this country.
True, but here's the thing. It's actually not difficult. It's just your comfort level isn't there because that's not the path that you don't depend on the government.
For me, it's not comfort, brother. I've developed the relationships and I know what I have to do to get done. Because like you said previously, I've got the mentorship and said, hey, I need help. People say, okay, this is what you need to do.
But that's what I mean.
I think one of the challenges is that I'm going to say it. Too many times, many of us look for the entertainment. We don't look for the substance.
But that's what I mean when you were talking about you got coaching, mentoring, and built relationships. So outside of Canada, you're able to access funding quicker than, let's say, at the government level. But if you got that same mentoring and built relationships with the right person at the government, it would be just as easy. The only thing that doesn't exist. So
no, it does exist. It just isn't being allowed.
Well, and there's some people.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Have you ever had a one-on-one meeting with Minister Ng?
No.
Why not? Do you find that strange?
Gatekeepers. Listen, that's what I'm saying. They actually play their role. They collect the information, and then they deliver it whenever they want. And they told me, and this is what I was saying with the email that I got in black and white, I cannot make that decision. I will forward your information to the minister, and hopefully she gets to it, and maybe she'll give you a response.
And I'm saying this out of love here. Did you follow up with them?
Yeah, I followed up all the way up until I got, we do not have bandwidth to execute that idea.
All right.
And I can show you the string.
Which is very interesting, saying they don't have bandwidth for something they say they want to do.
Thank you very much.
That's a little bit concerning, saying we do not. You say you want to help a community, but say we don't have the bandwidth. So what are you using your bandwidth for?
We see it for the program that was announced but didn't activate for 9 months. They would rather do that instead of an actual short term.
If I was as big a media entity as I dreamed to be, I would love to do an investigative report on this. I would love, because I'd like to just be say, okay, where has this money gone, and what has it gone into? And we have the right to ask that, because it is government public money,
Oh yeah, Freedom of Information Act. Like,
right?
we,
So
and
yeah,
I don't think we would like what we find. I
I
would
would
be
like what I
blunt.
find, because it's the
I
truth.
don't think, but we're gonna find waste, and we're gonna find a lot
Well,
of
it's
empty
interesting.
promises.
I take it in regards to waste, take it to a different level. I was having a very interesting conversation with someone who works for an Ontario government retail operation. I'm not going to go any further.
Mm,
And he was telling me the amount of waste, the amount of nepotism. This is a black gentleman,
right.
and the lack of like diversity and inclusion, the racism. It. Why is someone trying to call me? Right. Sorry about that, folks. They must think I'm Ryan's agent. So that that they want that's going on is incredible. So Christopher Lawrence has the right thought process here. Instead of us being disappointed with red tape, what's our next step? Well, Christopher, I'm not disappointed, because I don't have time for this. I just find different avenues, because I just think that there's many ways to get what you want, and if there's one way you can't, you deal with other avenues. But it is a good suggestion, a good question. You know, what's our next step? What is our next step, Ryan?
Well, and the two previous guests that we have showed potential next steps, and actually not even potential next steps that are already in action. So Marlon Steven came on. He talked about Square Circle Ventures and Valence Community. That to me, plugging into a community, and again, like exactly like you said, it's heavier in the States right now, but I feel like it's going to be coming to Canada more prominently. And then Errol Gibbs came on and talked about the Black Empowerment Manifesto that he penned, and looking at using it as a blueprint so that we can really develop our own infrastructure, so that we don't have to depend on government. But again, still knowing how to play that game. So there, if we had our own think tank, and we could say, okay, this is how you approach getting money from the government. This is how we approach creating our own revenue generating opportunities. And this is how we approach investing into our own community. Then we have multiple options. When a baby is born, we can look the parents in the eye and say, the Black community is here to make sure that your child is successful, and we are here to support them from birth all the way up until they become the mentors for the next children that are born. That to me is success for the community. There should not be any siloed efforts. And I feel like those two options are the best next step. Go to valence.community, sign up and be part of the network. And then also join us. We're actually going to be doing consultation sessions, community conversations about the manifesto on June the 26th and 27th. Join the conversation. And it's not to say that the manifesto is the be all end all, but we should be able to talk about it, because I haven't seen any other blueprints. If somebody else has created a blueprint that can support the Black community for the next 50 years, let's put them together. Let's put them against each other and say, okay, which one is the best plan, and pick a plan and go. But if it's the only plan, then I say we at minimum have to move forward with some sort of plan. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, solution focused initiatives coming soon. Well, they better, because it's a critical time. I think also, if anyone is dissatisfied, ask, look for other sources, look for other things. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think
So
that,
true.
you know, if you're not happy, there's enough organizations. And again, all roads lead to Ryan Knight. So if you have a question,
Right?
he's the guy you go to, right? He's a man. He all roads lead to him. Me, I'm just a host. I just hang out once in a while and all that.
And this is the power of funding your own initiatives, because I find, and I deal with this internally too, is the fact that when a person pays you, you get muzzled, you get silence. And because, let's say, TD has sponsored our financial literacy program, so can I not talk about TD now? So let's say RBC, a phone call in the middle of the night comes in and says, you know what, Ryan, here's 10 million. You can do what you need to do. How hard would I talk about RBC? Because, RBC paid me. So if the federal government, let's say we were part of FACE and we were managing the 30 million and getting the 50 million, would I have written the cash propaganda article? So the same garbage would be happening, but because Ryan's taken care of, I'm quiet and I'm not going to talk about it.
Wait, there's a phrase. The former president of the United States. Ironically, why am I mentioning him today? It's actually his 75th birthday. That individual, I don't say his name. He was in a scandal, and a term came out called quid pro quo.
Yes.
That is a very important phrase in this. So many people are thinking that Black Canadians have been bought.
But, and I know, I don't want to say I know they have, but I know that when you get money from a certain purse, it's difficult to talk about that person holding the purse.
Pro quo.
Because I go through it too. I know that feeling. And I know I'm talking with CIBC right now. And I haven't had a great relationship with CIBC. I've been banking with them since the 90s. And I don't have a business account with them because they declined me. And now they're created a Black entrepreneurship program and they want to support Black entrepreneurs. So I say to them, okay, if you're serious, show me. I don't want to hear no talk. Show me how, if I send an entrepreneur to you, you are going to treat them different. So that is to be seen. And hey, if they have changed their ways, that's great. But if they haven't, I can't not talk about you if you're not delivering. So this is where the money that we're getting is silencing the people that should be talking. And I don't know who got what, but you can see the one, and just go to any event, and you could use FACE as an example, any event that's talking about the Black Entrepreneurship Program, there's people that are questioning, is this the best choice? And then there are people that are just praising and celebrating and dancing and catching the Holy Ghost in the comment. I'm like, how is there two completely different responses to this? Some people are so ecstatic and some people are completely pissed off at what we're getting. Let you decide. I can't decide. I just observe too. I'm just looking through. And then, hey, LinkedIn is your best friend, because that person that was so excited, and I'll use one example. I see a person that says, this is the greatest historic moment in Black history, like something just ridiculous. I'm like, who is this person? So I go to the LinkedIn. Oh, staunch Liberal supporter. I think they had run for Liberal before and lost and are currently going to run again. So you see, it connects. It's like that person supports the Liberal government. So whatever they put out, they're completely support. Like that. That's not how this works. It can't work like that, where because you support the political party, you just accept any garbage that they put out. This is what we're dealing with. And you can make that correlation. I would love to create a graph just to show all the people that are excited about this announcement, how many of them are actual Liberal Party members. And all the people that do not like it, they're either independent or possibly they're conservative or NDP. Who knows? Green Party. But the government could have did better and they chose not to. And it can either be that they're incompetent or willfully disrespecting the Black community.
No, well,
both options are not good.
Some people say they're very smart.
Right.
Right.
But I call that, even if they're smart, that's smart. Willful disrespect. They can be smart, but they're disrespecting the Black community.
Ryan Knight, welcome to politics.
Hey, somebody's got to report this stuff. It can't be.
I'm here.
And that's where the question that keeps coming in too. Why are they so fixated on loans? It's like who proposed these things? The research, and I'm not. Listen, this is not Ryan. I need a grant. This is. We did the research. We found 80 entrepreneurs that talk. I want to talk to you. What do you need? And you know what? I need grants to get some services done. I need grants to get back on my feet, possibly pivot. Not one person said, "Oh, give me a loan." Even if it was going to be a loan, give me access to the SEBA loan. The SEBA already exists. It's interest free for a certain amount of time, no payments needed. And if you do pay it back before, I think, December 2023, you get some of it reimbursed or forgiven. What was wrong? It's your own plan. That plan is better than the one that you gave us. So why did we get a worse plan than the government? And the SEBA, the Canadian Emergency Business Account, which you could get up to $60,000, was COVID-related relief. Mm-hmm. That was for business owners. If you just supported business owners to get SEBA, and I think it's closing June 30th. So this whole time, anybody that said, you know what, I struggled with getting the incentive, I just need to finish my taxes, I just need to get my financial statements and my invoices put together and organized, then they would have qualified for that money. So they could have got that last year, September. Mm-hmm. But instead, you told them, oh, no, we're going to make something new. We're going to create something better for you, for the Black community. It's going to be the historic. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of. And so that person now didn't get the support to get SEBA that they could have, waited 9 months, and are being told that their application is going to go to some experienced banker, who's an Victor, that has been in banking for 25 years, and he's going to adjudicate your loan application. I was like, so what changed? The banks already have that. You didn't give the Black community anything different. And that is a shame, because now that person, and I know 2 of them that thought the Black Entrepreneurship Program was going to help their business, and that business is closed. It's closed now. So you can't call that person and tell them about no Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. That is a slap in the face to an entrepreneur that went through our survey. That was in August, like July, August, because we presented it in August. And that person thought that the government was listening, and that's on me, because I thought the government was listening because they asked us to do the work. And so we did the work. 80 people thought that they were going to get support because it asked, and this is what kills me. Point blank, the representative from the Minister Ng's office said, anybody that is in your survey that applied for the loan and was declined, even though they qualified, we want to know who that person is so that we can support them. There was 8 people that qualified for SEBA but got declined by the government. We sent them their information. They did not get any help, period. This is what I'm dealing with. And those people call me, and that's where I get emotional, because now those people will call me and say, you know what, Ryan, they won't say like, oh, I trusted you and nothing. But that's what I'm hearing. It's like, hey, I
doesn't make you look good at all.
I told you my story. You said that you could help, and I've heard nothing. And then I'm following up. It's like, yo, you guys, you're making Black entrepreneurs sit around waiting for the support that you promised. If you didn't say anything out your mouth, I wouldn't have presented it. But you said that you could help, and you didn't. And now those, like 2 of those 8 people are out of business. And it's partially because they thought that they were going to get support and they didn't. That doesn't sit terrible. Well with me.
That's so, because it looks bad on you.
Well, it makes you feel like, okay, that path is a waste of time when it shouldn't be. Because if you can present something to the government that could actually help, there should be some sort of open line of communication. But even if the communication's there, I'm finding they're not actually listening. They've already created what they want to do, and they're just looking for validation. So they ask us to do that survey. Then they go and do their own nationwide consultation. I'm like, people,
so they're repeating the same process.
And how much money did you invest into doing that month-long consultation, which could have been money in the short term to support entrepreneurs, to get them ready, to get the seed. My mind races with like you said, the waste that the government puts out there to show that they're actually doing stuff when they're just delaying and they're actually doing a disservice to Black entrepreneurs because we actually are putting trust in them. If we didn't trust them, if those 8 people said to me, Ryan, I don't care what the government is doing, I'm going to go do my own thing, or help me with XYZ, they wouldn't have been waiting around. And possibly, hey, I know 6 out of the 8 were able to pivot, and we were connecting them to like BBPA and different supports. So it hurts me that we couldn't help all 8, but at least we could help 6. And 6 out of there was more that didn't even qualify. That I was happy that we were able to do something. Mm-hmm. But if we had the support of the government, I know we could have helped the 8 and of course the rest that did the survey. But they decided to ignore us. And what can I do? There's nothing. I feel powerless against what is possible for me to do. And that is a position that I don't like being in. So that's why I'm writing these articles, to see who else is out there feeling powerless, feeling like we're just getting the cash propaganda, announcements, no action, and we have to fend for ourselves. We need to band together and fix this. And I feel like we have to do it ourselves.
I've always believed that, really and truly.
Right.
And hey, I'm not aligned to anything, but I found out you just got to do it yourself. And it goes back from the day I started this platform. I was not getting any love in Canada, and it's finally people are noticing me in Canada. I've been doing this for a long time, but I went to where I was loved, the United States. Exactly. So when I hear about this going on in where I live, I say, I'm not surprised. I could tell you stories about this when I had hair. I don't got it anymore. I can tell you when I had hair, I can give you the same story.
Yes.
I just believe that, yes, we have to, make the government accountable, but we can't spend all our energy doing that. We have to find alternatives.
100%.
We have to find alternatives because time never lost a fight. We're dealing with people's lives, and we're dealing with the future of Black Canada here, and it's absolutely critical that the things are done. Like, it's incredible. And Ryan says he's dealing with a bank. I guess it sounds like with a person with CIBC. I'm dealing with a potential business opportunity with another bank, and actually, ironic, the reminder came up to me that I'm giving them a call tomorrow to follow up on a conversation we had a few months ago. So I have to see where they stand. But this is the thing, that it's a large conversation that Ryan has talked about, and I think one of the questions, I can't see it here, but there was a question. Yeah, I think it'd be a very good conversation topic. Christopher, you brought up a really good question. Can we create for ourselves?
I say yes. The answer is yes until proven otherwise.
Well, I would say I agree with you, but how much do we have to hurt to start doing it?
Well, and that's where the people that are jumping up and down and excited about what was proposed, it's almost like we have to find who is willing to build for ourselves and move it.
I went to your timeline, and I've just shared it for people who live, and also you can watch on the replay of Ryan's article in LinkedIn that has made him the media star that he has become.
Not even close.
But and he also in his timeline in LinkedIn, back a few weeks ago, he asked a question on LinkedIn asking when the Black Entrepreneur Loan Fund launches, will you apply for funding? 28% of the respondents said yes, 11% said no, 61% said depend on the details. So let's just out of curiosity, let's say half of the people say the depend on details, that's unknown, not sure.
Right.
Half of that amount is 61% divided by half is 30%. So if you take half of that and you put it divided between the yes and the no, you have 51% no and 58% saying yes. It's not a good result.
Right.
Not a good result. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what becomes. And that was a few weeks ago. And I think as time goes on and people, again, there's a whole education that has to go, but money has to come out quicker.
And just before we wrap up, so 61% said depends on the details. And then on May 31st, they launched the program with no details. So they couldn't even decide. It's like the details came out on the Friday. And I laughed because this is like project management 101. You can't put the cart before the horse. Like, just know the details of what you're presenting. Otherwise, it just becomes an announcement just a talk, and nobody can make a decision because there's no details to you make a educated decision. So
Well, I bring up, and because I've done so many of these conversations, I remember things that people say. And one of the things that one of my longtime associates, Victor Unlimited from Memphis, Tennessee, if he was hearing this, he'd go, Dr. Vibe, this is the illusion of inclusion.
agreed. I'm gonna write that one down. I might get a tattoo with that.
The illusion of inclusion. So that is just
it's
really
all smoke and mirrors, man. They just, and that's why I'm struggling that not. And hey, another article that I was thinking to write is like, where are the heroes that we were promised? There's so many Black heroes that we talk about that are still alive at Black History Month, what have you. Why aren't they advocating on our behalf when this type of garbage is going on? When it's an illusion, somebody needs to be in a role to see through the fog. I always think of Wizard of Oz when I'm thinking of the government now. It's like, don't look behind the curtain here. Like, just trust what we're saying. We have your best interests at heart, but don't actually look at the details. Don't ask me about timelines, and don't ask me for a work plan. Don't ask me who's in charge of the project, man. These are the questions that I was asking Minister Ng's office. I was like, who's in charge? Who is mapping out the timeline, and who is being held accountable to milestones? They're like, oh, and they're just not wanting to answer like a simple, who's in charge of this project that can give me answers on timelines. There is nobody in charge. So this is what we get. We just get random stuff, and it's all, like you said, smoke and mirrors and an illusion.
right. Well, Ryan had a lot on his mind today, and you heard it. And I sprinkled in once in a while because I like to keep right to the point. Ryan is the politician. I am not, right? So
If I'm a politician, listen, if I ever become a politician, I would be the most transparent politician you'd ever see. My meetings would be Facebook Live,
all
so
right.
people can see what the
Maybe
real.
maybe I'll nominate myself as your communications director. So there you go.
I want to see behind the curtain.
What do you got going on for the rest of the week, man?
This week, we're actually finalizing our business plan course. So Chris Beth and I, we're going to be working on, and Chris Beth is from Empowered for X. So we do like business plan writing, grant writing, but also workshops. So we have a grant writing workshop and a course, and we're going to be finalizing our business plan writing and the course, and workshops. And on Friday, CMAC, the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, they are doing a session with us about their co-investment fund. So if you own property and are looking to build affordable housing, the CMHC has funding to help you build that money, or build those housing. And it's not chump change, people. They have like over $50 billion in their portfolio right now that they need to spend to build affordable housing. So again, let's figure out the dance and get that money.
Yes, because we need to also own land.
That's the thing. But then see how that shifts us to offense, where if we know that there's funding there, I'm on the hunt for land now. I'm like, oh.
Well, this is the thing. And again, if you live in Toronto, there is an area of Toronto slowly not being known anymore called Little Jamaica. And for many, many years, a lot of Jamaican businesses were in this area, some of them forever and ever and ever. Now they were asked to leave because light rapid transit is being built and it's all being changed to condominiums and all that. The unfortunate thing is many owners were unfortunately, they didn't own any of the land. So when you're asked to leave, that's again with gentrification. When gentrification happens a lot to people who ask, because we don't own the land.
Right. So
right?
we have to
When
change
you own
that.
when you own the land, you call the shots.
Yes.
So we
Exactly.
need to we have to find ways of now. We always say working together. We don't need all of us to working together. We got to just get more people working together. And those who
Exactly.
aren't ready, no problem. We just got to move ahead. Just got to move
Agreed.
ahead. So you got all that. Yes, I think Chris Beth is actually interviewing me this week. She must have time to waste. So, but
No, that'd be good.
that I'm looking forward to that. And what else is going on? I am well. Something interesting. I have been invited to. I actually have a media pass to a big event
Okay.
called the Banff World Media Festival.
Oh, didn't Ryan Singh mention that? Because
He may have, but yes, and it actually
he's
starts today and
screening.
goes for 1 month.
Wow,
A
that's
one,
wild.
and let me tell you, actually, let me see. I'll do a quick share screen. I'm just trying to show you the front page of their website. I was able to get a media pass.
Hmm.
This is out of bounds, folks. If you are in media, this is one of the great places to be. So there we go. So let me just show you this site here. Oh, actually, interesting. There's one of the keynote speakers, Maverick Carter. People may not know who
Oh.
Maverick Carter is, but I guess most people know who LeBron James is.
Hmm.
LeBron James and Maverick Carter own a studio, a Spring Hill company. This is Maverick Carter is
Oh.
LeBron James's right hand business person.
Right. I've heard of the myth. Like, there's a person
Yes,
that is his partner that they invest together.
he is his business partner.
Gotcha. That's
So,
amazing.
and then there's let me just here's keynote speaker actually on doing it today is the co-CEO and chief content creator of Netflix.
Okay. Oh, damn.
But here's a list of all the companies that are attending this event: A&E, BBC, Creative Arts Agency, which is probably the biggest talent management agency in the world, CBC Radio Canada, CNN, Chorus Entertainment, who owns a global TV network in Canada, Discovery Channel, ITV Studios, Lionsgate, Marvel
And you
Studios,
see, that's what we were talking. Like,
Spotify, Quebec 4,
which of
MTV,
those
and
any black?
Netflix, Spotify, TVO, YouTube. These are all, and this is going on for a whole month.
That's wild.
So I've been very blessed to get access media wise. So I'm praying that I'm getting some interviews with some individuals who are attending that. There's you got PBS, Prime Video, OWN, Roku, Rogers Sports Media. So this is probably definitely one of the biggest content creator events in North America this year. And this is
Wow.
what I mean by people taking advantage of the crisis. Because if this was done virtually, I don't know if I'd have the money to take the flight to go out to Banff, get a hotel.
Oh, you mean if it was done in person?
Yes, if it
You
was done
wouldn't be
face
able
to
to.
face.
Yeah.
Who else is here?
Are they doing like a hybrid?
Viacom CBS, Warner Brothers,
Mm.
Warner Media. Like there are a number of people here who are heavy hitter decision makers who are black people. Like if we
Yeah,
had more
man.
time, I'd dig in and give you some of the names and faces of people that are
Well, that's what we need to use Friday for. I want to deep dive into
well.
this.
On Friday, we have Greg Frankson talking about going to be fatherhood. So he's on Friday. Maybe next Monday,
Yeah.
we can go a deep dive into this. But the amount of people here, and they have a great platform set up where you can reach out, connect with people. So I have a list of about 50 people that I'd like to get an interview with. But this is
Excellent.
the thing, just amazing. Like when they confirmed it on Thursday night, the media pass, I started going through. It was like 11:30 night. Said I need half a day to go through this.
No kidding. Well, you got a month, so
But what I did do though is I had my intern go through all the names of people to say who would be best to interview. So this is again delegate and get those things going. So that is the big thing other than there's other things going on too, but this is a huge event. This is like really, and I wouldn't have known about it unless and full shout out to Ryan Singh. He told me about it and I
mhm,
went, wow. So you got
let's check it out.
uh, there's a lot of people involved here. Now, again, I'm seeing most of you don't look like me, but there are a lot of people there in this space. You know, there's a lot. So if once you dig in, and it's really set up well. So that's the main consumption we've got going on, the
Cool.
Banff Media Festival for a whole month. Whole
Love that.
month. Whole month. So that's the
All
major.
right, brother.
There's a whole lot of bunch of other things, but that's one of the major things going on. So it's going to be a very interesting week. Looking forward to it.
Please keep us in the loop.
And this is good too. Ryan didn't have a top of the hour meeting today. Wow, that's rare.
I actually do. I have
Okay.
to head. I told them I'm running behind.
All right.
We had stuff to talk
that,
about.
but
It's all good.
we will chat. So we'll catch you back again on Friday, folks. Hope everyone has a great week. And we'll be back on Friday with Greg Frankson. He was on about a week or two ago. But we're going to come back on Friday and talk about fatherhood, since Sunday is Father's Day. And then Saturday is World Sickle Cell Day. So if you have an opportunity, if you want to go to my Facebook or YouTube page, had an incredible conversation yesterday with 3 individuals from Canada and 1 individual from the United States talking about sickle cell. And it was incredible stuff. They are all sickle cell advocates. 3 of the people are parents that have children that have sickle cell. And 1 gentleman actually lives here in Toronto. Ulysses Guerriere actually has been diagnosed with sickle cell since he was 5 years old. He's now 42.
Okay.
So that is it. So as always, like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourself grace. Like to say a big shout out to Simone and Christopher for joining today. Thank you so much to everyone else who watches live on the replay. We appreciate it. And shout out to us if you have any suggestions on subjects that you'd like us to chat about on the Morning Vibe. God bless. Peace be all. Keep the faith. And let's see if Ryan's going to run for politics. Bye, everybody.